Welcome back to the Reier on YouTube channel, where it is time once again for No Sleep TEAL, a show dedicated to discussion involving the National Football League's Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm Travis Reier. He's Evan Reier. And Evan, we actually have week one action to preview as what I like to call the expansion bros get together for the 2025 season opener. And look, this is pretty much a duo that has spanned literally your lifetime. And you're a 96 kid. So this
basically
is
from the jump.
Is your life. This is your life, Evan Reier.
It's true. I've also heard this game called the Meow Mix Bowl, which I think is a little more insulting, but it is. It is a really fun week one matchup. The out of division, out of conference games that happen throughout the season, they always provide a lot of fun questions and stuff. And getting one this early, especially a team that Jaguars should very much be capable of beating. But two, also has a lot of the same questions and kind of a similar approach to how the Jags are going to take this game. I think this matchup's a fun one.
Let's start with the Jags here in the last couple of days announcing their team captains for the 2025 season. Quarterback Trevor Lawrence, defensive end Josh Hines-Allen, linebacker Foyesade Oluokun, punter Logan Cook, cornerback, newcomer Jordan Lewis, and of course another newcomer to the Jaguars and Robert Hainsey at the center position. Did any of those strike a chord with you one way or another, Evan? Couple of new guys, looks like a pretty good mix there.
Yeah, that's I think really the only notable thing there is the two new guys, which is I think a positive to see. These are voted on by the players. Obviously, staff kind of gets the final say on that, but from what Liam Cohen said in the press this week, he said that these were what the guys wanted. Jordan Lewis, he was a leader in that secondary in Dallas, despite not being the most talented guy in that group, the most important guy per se. But he's a dog, and hopefully he can kind of pass on that energy to Jarian Jones, Tyson Campbell, and that crew. And I think Hainsey makes a lot of sense too. He's clearly a Cohen guy, a guy that they're very, very up on, and hopefully kind of sets the tone for the rest of that offensive line group.
Yeah, in a situation voted upon by players, this kind of breaks down the way you want it to, right? I mean, I don't know many teams, though, in the National Football League, even with rookies at quarterback, who their quarterback isn't one of the captains.
Right.
That's pretty difficult to find, I got to think. But veterans in these six captains, for sure, whether they're newcomers to the Jags or returning players, a lot of experience in the National Football League. I think you're right in terms of Jordan Lewis and the impact he's made and what you continue to hope he makes, as you said, with the guys that he's going to be working with in that secondary. You always like it when your center is a captain, right? I mean, that's another area where you're counting on leadership and communication and things like that. But at 1 p.m. on Sunday at Everbank Stadium, that game will air on Fox, by the way, not a lot in the way of star power, at least not according to the top 100 players for the upcoming season that was count down by NFL.com. Evan, when you look for those guys on that list, just two, good news is they're both Jags, I guess. 61, you had Brian Thomas Jr. check in, and then 63rd in the top 100, Josh Hines-Allen. Other than that, well, that's it.
Yeah, I mean, that's not especially surprising, especially after this past year. That list always seems to be very year dependent. I think the NFL players voting on that, there's obviously some respect for guys that have been around for a long time and can continue to do things at even a moderately high level. But overall, it's about what have you done for me lately. So based on last year, I mean, the Jags and the Panthers don't really have much of an argument to make based on the troubles they had last year. But I mean, I would say definitely on the Jags side, there's some names that have all the potential to break out this season or to kind of return to form. You think of Josh Hines-Allen. I mean, he made the list, but in years past, he's been much higher. You'd like to see him kind of get off to a really strong start. And then also, I mean, with the Panthers, there's some guys that, could very quickly move their way up into the national conversation. I mean, fantasy owners already know plenty about Chuba Hubbard. I mean, they know that dude gets a lot of work, gets a lot of love from that offense. So, guy for the Jaguars to watch out. And then, of course, the new receiver McMillan. That's going to be a big question mark. I mean, he looks like he could be a real threat out the gate. And definitely won that battle with Tyson Campbell or with Jarian Jones, whoever really gets out on him the most is going to be fun to watch.
Depth chart we have in advance of the matchup with the Carolina Panthers on Sunday. Any surprises for you there? We'll start on the offensive side. Looking at it, kind of shook out, I guess, at the end about the way you would have expected, right? At least when you're talking about starters and then maybe even getting into the 2D.
Yeah, I mean, on the offense, I don't think there's really any surprises. I think the only thing we could have seen over the offseason / preseason is that maybe, Bigsby's technically the starter, and they could still name him on Sunday. They could, absolutely run him out there first. But ETN being above him makes sense. Yeah, the 3 receivers, that's according to plan with BTJ, Travis Hunter, Dewami Brown. And then with the offensive line, Walker Little and Anton Harrison on the edges, Ezra Cleveland, Makari at guard, and Hainsey at center. Obviously, we saw Chuma Edoga have a really, really nice start to his time in Jacksonville. But, I mean, as we kind of talked about in previous weeks, even if Edoga is doing really well, you're paying Makari too much money. He's got to at least go start to begin the season.
Yeah, after all the shuffling and all the different combinations, right, in the preseason, that first 5 looks exactly the way you would have expected it going into training camp. And it's going to be a little bit of a ETN family reunion on Sunday. You're going to have Trevor from the Carolina perspective, the rookie out of both Florida and Georgia. That was interesting for a college career. But Trevor Etienne and his brother Travis going to meet up on Sunday. And Trevor, it looks like, is going to be more of a return option and a depth provider at the running back position. But let's talk about the Jaguars defense in this initial depth chart. Another situation where I guess it played out about the way you would expected based on who this team brought back and who it brought in, either via the draft and or free agency. What stands out to you there? Is it the grouping of Devin Lloyd and maybe Ventrell Miller, a little bit of intrigue there as to who could maybe be the first guy out there, kind of like running back, I guess?
Yeah, no, I think the linebacker group is definitely the most interesting one here because, between 5 guys, you've got, a lot of different kind of skill sets and capabilities. I think, obviously Aloakun's kind of the one surefire. We know he's going to be out there, 90% or more of the time. But with Devin Lloyd, Jack Kaiser, Dennis Gardeck, Ventrell Miller, I mean, they kind of can plug and play depending on what the opposing offense is giving them. They obviously are huge on Gardeck. I mean, they are really, really about that guy. And he's got plenty of NFL experience. He's got, the kind of skill set that you want. He's got the long flowing hair that, gives you the, just that feel good energy. Same thing with Dewey. Dewey's no longer doing it by himself with the hair. I think overall, I'm thinking Aloakun and Devin Lloyd are kind of your 2 that, when they're in nickel the majority of the time, if they're going by, what typically happens in the NFL, that's the 2 you'll see. But yeah, Ventrell Miller and Gardeck's role, how much they play on Sunday, I think is probably the thing I'll be looking for the most, just in terms of what are the Jaguars trying to do going forward.
Yeah. Can we go ahead and sort of copyright the Flow Bros for Gardeck and Dewey?
Yeah.
Go ahead and call them that.
I think that's a good idea.
Maybe we could hit that right here on No Sleep Teal. But the opportunity too, if you are whole, if you truly have all these guys where you want them physically, which wasn't the case, right? For most of training camp on the defensive side. I'm interested in situational options. Is Gardeck going to give you something on third down in the pass rush, maybe to go along with some of these other guys? Can you get enough out of him to maybe move Trayvon Walker inside and some third and longs, and how they can maybe be flexible and do some different things with this personnel, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing is that, in years past, if you go watch Gardeck with the Cardinals, and he is a very, very good pass rusher, very good blitzer. So that's something that really last year I feel like the Jags were lacking at that second level. They didn't really, Alokun and Devin Lloyd's fast as can be, right? But overall, it's just not his strong suit. So they kind of have a different dimension with Gardeck. If anything, Ventrell Miller was kind of the guy providing, some type of additional pass rush last year. So yeah, that'll be interesting. And I mean, also how does Jack Kaiser fit into this, right? I mean, they obviously like him a lot. He's, clearly, maybe not the most athletic guy in this group. He might be the least athletic guy in this group, but where do you get him into the system? Is he only going to be on a, obvious rushing
special teams or
teams, whatever? That'll be one to watch.
Yeah. The packaging that they go with a lot of this personnel, and how Gardeck and Kaiser should probably help the Jags in the kicking game on special teams coverage and return units. By the way, we are coming to you live from Party Girl Avondale in the historic Avondale and Fairfax areas of Duval. Evan, you know how it goes here. We've got the chicken pot pie soup today. That's the soup of the day. We've got Alabama drop biscuits in honor of Alabama's wide receivers against the Florida State Seminoles. We have drop biscuits.
I'm glad I'm not a member of one of your Bama shows right now, because I would not have a lot have things to say.
The Bama shows have been lively. They've been lively.
Plenty to talk about.
They've been spicy, kind of like Party Girl. You know, you get a little spice in here too, but a lot of great stuff in here at Party Girl. You've got, of course, party options. You've got fresh baked goods. You've got take home dinners. About anything your heart desires right here at Party Girl Avondale, 4205 St. John's Avenue on the west side, not too far from Lake Show. Hey, let's talk about what we expect the emphasis to be on Sunday, Evan, because, I get the sense, another storyline in all this, David Canales, previously the offensive coordinator for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Liam Cohen, previously the offensive coordinator for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And a lot of that, you kind of look at the quarterbacks in this game because of Trevor Lawrence and Bryce Young, both being number one overall picks in the not too distant past. But you said it earlier with Hubbard, and I think the same is going to be true for the Jaguars. Which of these teams can really establish the run or just establish the running back position, throwing it to them too, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's I think both teams are basically going to have, obviously with, details and modifications accounting, like these are going to be very similar approaches to how they control this game. Chuba Hubbard is definitely kind of the focal point of that offense until Xavier Legette or McMillan can prove it otherwise. It's also worth noting that, Rico Dowdle is a very good back. We've seen him in Dallas be a force to reckon with. Those are two dudes that if you treat either of them lightly, they will run over you, not around you, but over you. That's what they want to do. So in terms of physicality, this is definitely a great test for this Jaguars defensive line and kind of those first two levels of, all right, are y'all up for this? Meanwhile, the Jags kind of, while I think will also put a lot of emphasis on the run, our running back group is a little bit, shiftier, a little bit more explosive potentially. We know what Travis Etienne can do. We know what Tank Bixby can do with space. Now you add Bashal Tutton to it as well. These are guys that, if they can get to that second level, can potentially go all the way. How the Jaguars utilize it in the passing game is going to be interesting. I think it'll be pretty I think they'll get adventurous with it. Whereas I think with Bryce Young, they're going to pull that safety valve as much as they can, right?
Yeah.
They're going to look to get it out of Bryce's hands, get the, not make him have to, work and weave and dodge, Josh Hines Allen. They're going to try and, make it as simple for him as possible.
What you like about the Panthers in terms of that physical approach is that guard combo with Damian Lewis and Robert Hunt.
Yeah,
that may be one of the very best in the National Football League. And if you're a Jaguars fan, you're hoping that you can answer that, not just in terms of your defensive line, with your inside guys on a down in and down out basis, but with your offensive guard play, with Makari, with Ezra Cleveland, with Hainsey at the center position, because I think the Panthers are very comfortable keeping this game more about those kind of guys than getting more to the outside or in terms of explosive play production. Although Tet McMillan, as you said earlier, coming in as a first round pick at the wide receiver position, um, something that was mystifying to me here in the last week or so. You felt like at the end of the year, the Panthers did, that you were turning the corner with your young quarterback,
Right.
in Bryce Young. And so Adam Thielen obviously wanted to go back to Minnesota. I get that. But you know what? This isn't Pop Warner football.
Mm-hmm.
It's pro football. So I was surprised that they basically gave him back to Minnesota when your young quarterback, who you are very much counting on to live up to expectations. To me, it kind of would have been like the Jags doing something similar. I know the Jags got rid of Christian Kirk and Evan Ingram and some guys like that, but I guess it tells you that they feel that good about Tet McMillan and Xavier Legette and getting Hunter Renfrow back in the fold after they initially waived him to come back in. He, the former Clemson Tiger star apparently is going to be in the slot on Sunday. That's where I wonder a little bit about Carolina in this matchup. It's where I like the Jags. My thoughts on the Jags' chances of winning went up maybe too much based on the Thielen trade back to Minnesota.
Yeah, I also thought that was puzzling. I mean, I get it. Hunter Renfrow, obviously very similar style of skill set to Adam Thielen, possession receiver, reliable. But at the same time, I mean, Adam Thielen was really, really good last year on a bad team. He was kind of the only shining spot for Bryce Young when Bryce Young couldn't find anybody else open. So yeah, it's curious. It's also worth noting that, I mean, Renfrow hasn't played a regular season snap in a year. So it's not like, it's just back to business for him. This is kind of a long time coming. So it'll be interesting to see exactly what, how much they utilize him, or if they go more towards, running back and tight end in terms of the bailout. Bryce Young definitely has developed his relationship with Tommy Tremble. Jadavion Sanders is definitely a pretty solid tight end.
Playmakers at tight end. Yeah.
Yeah. But, those are two good guys. But, is there enough established explosiveness for Bryce Young to when he has to throw the ball to actually make plays? McMillan's kind of a question mark. As good as he is, as good as we know he can be, it's his first NFL game, right? Xavier Legette,
is the continuity there, right? Between Young and these guys. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's a big question mark. It's also another thing, when we talk about establishing the run / when Bryce Young has to pass it. Itam Ekwonu is not certain to play this weekend. Starting left tackle for the Panthers. He's very solid, very promising. Definitely still seems like he has a lot of upside, but had an appendectomy late last week. As of now, he is he's at practice, but he's not practicing with pads on. He's practicing on his own to the side. Apparently, the Panthers are going to announce tonight if he is going to be able to go on Sunday, or if they're going to bring him to Jacksonville at the very least.
Yeah, it's another thing you like for the Jags in this matchup.
That's the thing is you
already and Thielen gone, and even Damian Lewis is coming back off a shoulder to play in this game, right?
Yeah, I mean, you already think that your roster holds up against this opposing roster. And now they've got these, kind of small issues or late last second changes. I mean, really, if you're the Jaguars, I'm thinking, yeah, we have to win this. Like, if you don't win this one, I don't know really what other, kind of, favorable setups you're going to get.
And you better win because of what the schedule tells us.
Well, that's what I was going to say, right? It's like, we know what's coming up over the next 6 weeks. I mean, this is one that you need to just go ahead and get done. Also, there's never – I think enough emphasis you can put on your first home game of the season, getting a W, and just going ahead and establishing, that you feel good at home, that you are happy to play in Jacksonville.
He's listed, Travis Hunter is, as a starter at corner and a top backup, a starter at wide receiver, a top backup at corner. With that, what's a reasonable expectation in terms of usage for Travis Hunter, considering that he didn't get through training camp at 100% health?
I think you'll see him out there probably out the gate, opening offensive drive. They'll definitely run him out there anytime there's a 3 receiver set. I expect to see him out there. I think with corner, I would maybe guess 5 to 10 snaps total. Like I don't see him playing a lot if they don't have to. If something kind of drastic happens, like if Tyson Campbell goes down or something like that, then sure, you might have no choice but to run him out there. But I think if the Jaguars have it their way, he's going to play a very minimal amount on defense on Sunday.
Yeah, I think he's a regular at wide receiver throughout the game Sunday. I think in an ideal world, he plays 0.
Yeah.
If you can get through it with Jarian Jones and Tyson Campbell and Jordan Lewis, that would be great, or however you have to do it. But it will be interesting to see if they go to dime. Does that get him in the game? I wouldn't think that would, because dime's going to mean another safety on the field more than it's going to mean another corner type.
Right.
But it is one of the big mysteries for Sunday's matchup when you talk about the number 2 overall pick in Travis Hunter. Evan, when you talk about the enormity of an opener, it sounds a little ridiculous because it's one of 17 games. And I thought Liam Cohen here in the last couple of days really tried to emphasize that. And I think he did a lot of that to try to free his players up from an anxiety perspective, maybe not put too much into an opener.
Yeah.
But as we just talked about, everyone knows what's coming in the not too distant future. And I think, it's important for this Jaguar defense, especially, to kind of set the tone physically in week 1 after their performance from a year ago. And then, same thing for the Jaguar offense. You look at this Carolina defense, 5 new starters, bring in Patrick Jones from the Vikings, 7 sacks a year ago. But in terms of being able to affect the quarterback in this game, given the health status that you outlined with the Carolina Panthers at the tackle position, and this is a game where some of your biggest stars are at that position, and that's where they've got to make the difference.
Yeah. Now, I mean, really, when you think about like you mentioned the physicality of this defense, the guy I'm looking at and first and foremost is Eric Armstead, which he's still technically a questionable designation, but I mean, dude, in a team, you're playing against a team that is about running the football first. This is where you are supposed to be worth your money. Davon Hamilton, of course, too. Also, Kalen Saunders. We just moved for you. Your whole your primary skill set is blocking up that hole in the center. I think Kalen Saunders might be out there a lot more than people anticipate.
Oh, yeah. In this kind of game, this almost feels like why you made that move in a lot of ways, because in week 1, the Panthers are going to come out and try to push you around with that run game and those guards and that interior offensive line.
So I'm looking at Kalen Saunders. I'm looking at the DTs. Like the DTs really need to kind of turn a corner. Not that they were even the biggest issue last season, but they, like you said, if you're trying to put, make a statement on, especially in terms of physicality, you're looking at those guys to do it. I would also say that, this linebacker group should have a freaking chip on its shoulder after how bad they were made to look last year. I mean, I don't think they played especially well, but we've talked at length about how just the general approach to that defense was awful. If I'm, Aloakun, if I'm Devin Lloyd, I'm coming out ready to knock someone's lights out. Like I'm looking to make plays early.
Both these offensive staffs are going to look to put touches on the backs. Now the Jags, I think, have the benefit of a little more certainty at the wide receiver position. But, I think yards per touch for running backs for both these teams at the end of the day, whichever one has backs with over 100 total yards, maybe.
Yeah.
That could be the difference in the game.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see if the Jaguars also, Cohen's obviously a pretty astute offensive mind. How do you get someone like Dewami Brown the ball to be able to, move forward, whether it's bubble screens or otherwise? This is a guy that's pretty dang shifty. Travis Hunter is pretty shifty. BTJ, pretty shifty. These are guys that, while absolutely have downfield big play, capability. I want to see creative ways to get them the ball as well. To get those like 10 to 15-yard gains that you have to have on a consistent basis to properly move the football. And that's also partially on Trevor Lawrence. I mean, we haven't really, brought up Trevor much on this episode of the podcast, but, that's another deal is, how does Trevor look, after how bad, the progress went last season, just a steady decline. Like, does Trevor have a chip on his shoulder? Is he going to come out here and try and sling? And I don't mean hospital balls. I mean, like, actually, do make the right decisions, deliver the ball on time and in the right spot.
Yeah, I mean, as we get closer to our predictions for this game, I think, to me, there's no question. For all the players on the field Sunday, this is the biggest game. It's for Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
It's kind of like what we talked about in the offseason that, it's big for this new regime to come in and get off to a good start. But at the end of the day, it's Trevor that's on the clock more so than Liam Cohen, Tony Baselli, James Gladstone, any of those guys.
Yeah. Well, and, it will be interesting too. I mean, this is a pretty good defensive line, for the Panthers. I mean, A'Shawn Robinson.
A'Shawn.
Yeah, dude. It's a familiar name. It's a guy that
A'Shawn was like 43 when he was at Alabama. He's got to be in his early 60s.
Yeah, he's got the WWE lifespan. He can go that long. A'Shawn in his 30-year-old season, believe it or not, at this point. But Derek Brown also been in the game for quite some time at this point. But they've got some veteran guys. Definitely big dudes on that defensive line, especially that starting group. But that offensive line has to hold up. You got to give Trevor a chance. But whether or not, the offensive line necessarily has its best game, I'm, in the way that I'm looking at Trevor Lawrence and I'm looking at Liam Cohen, you should be able to still get the ball in the hands of these skill players to be able to make stuff happen, even if the offensive line is, not as great as we'd like them to be. I mean, really, based on the preseason, there were still plenty of issues, that we saw. There were penalties, there were, blown blocks, all that kind of stuff. If Walker Little and Anton Harrison aren't up to snuff, then how does Liam Cohen, how does Trevor Lawrence kind of circumvent that?
Yeah, and how does Trevor sort of manage this thing from a quarterback perspective? And we talked about buoying him with a run game. We're going to find out if the Jaguars have taken that next step with Liam Cohen and this new regime. So, Evan, what about a prediction? What do you got for Sunday?
I'm going to go 23-14. Jags.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I'm going to give them a 2-score win.
Nice.
I'm getting a lot of field goals out of Cam Little.
Cam Little on that A. Yeah,
I'm thinking it's like a 16-14 game into the third quarter, and then the Jags are able to put together one last drive. But 23-14 makes it seem like it's a very decisive win. I'm thinking it's close the majority of the game, but I think that the Jaguars just have a bit more firepower down the stretch to be able to kind of create the distance.
Yeah, that's bucking it up. That sounds like a Tampa Bay score from the last few years. So I could see that for sure. And I like you invoking Cam Little because Panthers are breaking in a rookie kicker.
Yeah, let's see.
On Sunday. So let's see how that goes. But
welcome to the show.
I like the Jags 23-17. I guess we're kind of in the same ballpark.
We're seeing some field goals for sure.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be a score fest. I think it'll be a highly competitive game. But I have a little more trust in some of the firepower that Trevor Lawrence is going to have to work. I think Ted McMillan, Leggett have a chance. They're 6'5" and 6'3" receivers, respectively. Dudes. I think the limit's probably pretty good there. And as we talk about those guys, Connor Wright talks about here in the comments, I want a bad to the bone safety, which
is he on this roster?
Be something to keep an eye on. Dewey, you went free agency at the other spot. Connor says he wants a Donovan Darius type. Donovan would bring the wood. Yeah, Donovan would stay fined in today's NFL.
I'm not worried about Dewey. Dewey likes to hit.
Oh, yeah.
I just don't know if he aims correctly.
Yeah.
I just worry about his name.
And if you got him in the middle of the field, can he give you what you need there, right?
Yeah, of
So,
course.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
no, we'll see. I mean, Eric Murray, some of the new guys on this team, if you want to, really show that you deserve the contract that
Yeah.
you got here, guy like Eric Murray, this is, a great opportunity to go ahead and, stake your place in this roster. But
Yeah, unlike the Alabama Crimson Tide, you hope the Jaguars off-season additions maybe show up a little better
Yeah.
in week 1. But
Goodness gracious.
Yeah, we both like the Jags on Sunday. Big game. Don't let Liam Cohen try to talk you down about the massive nature.
No, this one matters a lot.
This is huge, and we've said it all off season. And now, given the circumstances going into this, playing at home, new regime, franchise quarterback that you're going to have for probably the next couple of years, regardless, all those things need to get right ASAP. Because, Evan, we're really almost 2 years into this swing. Calendar years. And it kind of started in November, early December 2023. It's September 2025, and the Jags haven't gotten right. So this is where it needs to start on Sunday.
Oh, yeah. Never a better time than the present. So,
Well, Ev, as always, a lot of fun, my man. Look forward to week 1 of the National Football League and talking about it with you next week right here on No Sleep TEAL.
Oh yeah, no, it's going to be fun to finally get to watch the Jags play, and hopefully we'll have fun discussing next week. More fun than we've had discussing Alabama after their opener.
And if you've had fun hanging out with us, how about subscribing to Reier on YouTube? Hit that notification bell. That way you're alerted to our content as it drops here on Reier on YouTube. And a thumbs up. Thumbs up always helps out a lot as well. For Evan Reier, Travis Reier, thanking you and Party Girl Avondale once again. Until next time, so long, everybody.